Okay, here we go. So again, what I want to do, just to make it work, is I want to be able to have a music player that when the person presses the button here, it plays a song. As it's playing the song, you can control the volume using this slider. When it's done playing the song, I can hit the stop button here and to stop the song. Start the song, stop the song. So one of the problems I ran into building this, of course, was the problem of having a button, because the programming in the book went over how to make the play button work and make the stop button work. If you looked in the book, there's a chapter called 94. It's on page 691. And that's what I followed to make this. If you look on page 691, if I can get there. On page 691, let's just talk about some of the problems that I ran into. Of course, the first one was the assets themselves, the assets of the MP3. If you watched my video, which I guess you didn't watch, but if you did watch the video that I made, I talked about how if you're using iTunes, right, the traditional iTunes format is the AAC, which is Advanced Audio Codecs. That's what iTunes uses. That's what, when Apple came out with the iPod, if you remember the launch of the iPod in when was it, 90-something probably? 2000-something? I don't remember. 2001. They needed the ability to compress the audio so it would be smaller to fit onto the iPad. And they didn't want to use MP3. They wanted their own. So they came out with their own compression called AAC. Advanced Audio Codecs is what AAC stands for. Codecs means compression, decompression. That's short for, that's like modem. Modem is short for modulation, demodulation. So one of the problems I ran into is I downloaded the song I wanted and it wouldn't work inside of Xcode. I had to convert the song from that to MP3 and it worked. And I don't, it says in the book that the AAC works. I think it was the extension. I'm not really sure. It didn't. Xcode wouldn't recognize the extension for the file that I had, but it did recognize the MP3 fine. So you can convert your music to an MP3 somehow. There's all kinds of programs to convert music to MP3. You can even in iTunes change it to MP3. If you're using iTunes, let's look at iTunes for a minute if I can find it here. There's iTunes. If you're using iTunes to do your music, download, capture, burn music onto a CD and all that stuff. I don't want a quick tour, no. If you're using iTunes, your music, I don't have any music in here, do I? Oh, my music maybe. No, I have no music. I guess I have no music. No music. I guess I have no music on here. But if you are using iTunes, there is a preference underneath iTunes and Preferences. If you go to the Preferences inside of iTunes, you can actually convert to different file formats right here where it says Import Settings. So if, let's say you have music on a CD and you want to import it into iTunes and you want to use the MP3 and not the AAC, not the default. You can change the import CD settings right here and change it to MP3. So that's one way to get an MP3 is, let's say you have a CD of music, you put the CD in your computer, you choose MP3 as the quality, and as you import the music into iTunes, it converts it to MP3. Another program you can use to convert your music is, of course, if you have the Adobe Suite, there's a program called Audition, if I can find it. Audition. Audition is an audio program from Adobe, and you can use that to open a file and convert it to another format. In fact, I think I used Audition. I downloaded the song from iTunes, I opened that file up in Audition, and then I exported it out of Audition to MP3. That's how I got my MP3 that I wanted to use. Again, it was was using this program called Edition. Well, I love how they think everybody has a giant monitor. There we go. And this is you can just open a sound file up in here if I can find one. Can't believe there's no music on this computer. No. Excuse me. I don't have any music at all. Please excuse me here. I don't know where my music is. I have no music at all. Well, whatever. You get the idea. You can open a song up in this program and you can export it out as an MP3. So that's how I got an MP3 out of here. In the example, I already have my music here. You can hear my 80s music. Okay, sorry. The music I when I was a teenager. Okay. So, again, I had to start with an MP3. I couldn't get it to work using another format. So that was my whole point there. Next thing I did was I imported the music into the program. I just dragged it from the desktop right here into the working folder here. Right? You can drag things from here right in there. I did that. I brought the music in. Next thing I did was I built a music player. Now, when I built a music player, again, in the programming on the book, if you look on page in the book, on page 693, the buttons themselves, the play button and the stop button, need to be buttons. They have to. You can't just go here and type in image. Okay, drag your image onto the screen like we've been doing, right? Drag your image on there. And then take my button and put it in there, my play button. Remember we made a graphic of a stop button and a play button, right? You know, you can, okay, here's my play button. The problem is, when you go to program this image, it doesn't have, when you go to drag this into the, and I'm going to bring up my assistant editor. When I drag this into here, when I drag it from here to here, it doesn't have what's called action here. There's no action here. And the programming in the book needed an action under the connection here. See where it says connection? It needed an action. So this didn't work, putting a graphic on there. So what I had to do, and I'm going to demonstrate this, is I had to go, let me close this over here, make some more room here. So what I had to do, and I'm going to make another one, I had to use a button down here, button, B-U-T-T-O-N, button. And I took a button and I dragged it onto the screen. Now, you can put a graphic into the button itself, so I could then go, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. Instead of using the word button here, I can come over where it says type right here, and I can say custom right here, custom. And by saying custom for the button, I can then go to where it says down here where it says image. See where it says image right here. So again, I use button, I put button on. Then I went and I put custom for the type here. And then I went to where it said image and I chose my play button there. In doing so, this allowed me to make the play button work so that when I dragged it from here, I had to drag it from here to drag it into the, so I can make calls to it. When I dragged it from here into the programming, the connection was action right here. Action. They said to use action, and then type in. Of course, they said name it play audio. So I used action, and I typed in play audio, like that, and I hit connection. Okay. And actually, you can see it should have been down here further. Actually, it's below, not there. You want to do it actually down here. So as far as artwork, making artwork for this, again, as far as making, oops, I moved that. As far as making artwork, I had to use a button for the play button and the stop button. And then for the slider, that was just, like I said before, we just type in slider and drag the slider on. Okay, so that's the keys to making the artwork. The keys to making the artwork. This is just an image. This is just an image. This is just an image. This is some labels. But again, this had to be a button. This had to be a button, and then this is a slider. So that was the keys to the artwork. Okay, let's talk about. And again, I've already brought my music in. The music is here. Okay. So after I gathered all those pieces together, I followed chapter 94 in the book there, and I did the programming. By doing the programming, it works. So if we play it, let's play the app for a moment here. And of course, this is done with 9.3. It gave me the errors, and I had to go and change all the stuff back to 9.1. And of course, it takes a while to load. I should just do this on my laptop. I guess we can go on to doing some. Oh, something's happening here. Hold on. Again, my graphics kind of squished. I wasn't too worried about the graphics. I just wanted it to play. So if you hit the play button, the music will start. If you hit the stop button, the music stops. If you hit the play button again, it should start where you stopped. It doesn't start the song back at the beginning. It starts where you stopped it. It kind of stops the music where it was at. If you click the slider, this makes it louder. And then this makes it softer. Louder. Softer. Louder. Stop. Play. Again, it starts the music where it left off. Okay. So it played a song. Let's just talk about that briefly. I'm not going to go over all the programming from that. I just copied from the book. And it worked. Took me 3 times though. Third time was a charm. I typed things wrong. You know. I had to actually start 3 different times. I did it 3 different times. It happens. You know how that is. Okay, let me show you the programming. Again, I showed you the artwork. This is a button. This is a button. This is a slider. Okay, so let's look at the programming. So again, this is the view controller Swift file that is in the view controller Swift file. The first thing is to import the AV foundation. AV stands for audio video. This is the controllers for the audio video. So that's on page again 693 in the book. In addition, it added an AV audio player delegate here, which is again bringing more resources in for you to be able to control the audio and video. Again, that was on page 693. Then the first thing it made is a variable here called audio player, which then it designated it as the audio player, this audio player. When you see the purple ones, this is built into Xcode, right? The purple ones are built into Xcode. And so we made a variable called audio player, and we are controlling it, the audio player, AV audio player controller. And then, of course, this is the default setting right here. Then, so this is in every Swift file right here. So it's saying, did the page load? Basically, did the page load? If the page loaded, what are we going to do? Well, we need to make a connection to the MP3 file. So this was on page 694 in the book. So this is a connection to a file, and that file is, of course, the name of the music file and what file type it is, MP3. So again, if you look over here, it's Look of Love and MP3. So that's the file format right there. And then, of course, this is designating the audio player, which again is this one right here, audio player, try audio player, AV player. Again, I was copying this from page 694 in the book. And of course, it's defining the audio player. It prepares the audio player to play. So what this is all doing here is telling it which file am I playing and getting it ready to play. Basically, this puts it in memory, is what this is doing. Unless there's an error, then it gives you an error message. So how do the buttons work? Well, the buttons work by, again, making a connection. So here's how you make a connection. I'm going to push this down a little bit here. Again, to make a connection to the player, I right-click on the button. Remember, it's a button. I drag it into the Swift file. And again, the connection is going to be an action right here, an action. And in the action, they tell you to call, and this is on page 693 in the book. 693 in the book. This is called play audio with a capital A. Excuse me again. Again, and then they said the event should be touch up inside, touch up inside. But you can look at some of the events that you could have. Let's look at some of them. You got, remember I talked about dragging with the see and say? Remember dragging? You got touch, drag, enter. Touch, drag, exit. Touch, drag, inside. Touch, drag, outside. Touch, cancel, and so on. So there's a variety of different triggers you can have on a button. In this case, right now, we're just using this one that's called touch up inside. It basically means if somebody touches the play button, play the music. But again, you can control things in different ways, and that's what I'm going to cover in the next lesson that I cover. I want to show you how to drag things on the screen, okay? Drag them. So I'm just pointing it out now so you know where it's at, okay? You can do different things, different events right here. So after you drag that in, it puts in the programming. The first line is this one right here. It says if the player, let player is the audio player, then player play. Basically, player is the sound up here. And where sound audio player, where's the player? So this is the line of code to actually make the music play. Then, of course, this is the line of code, and you'll notice it says stop. You got play and stop. The stop button is the same way. You drag it from here into here, and I put in the programming from page, again, it's on page 693 in the book, verse 94, 694. And then for the volume slider is the same thing. You grab it and right click and drag it into your Swift file. And then this controls the volume. You'll notice there is a volume controller built right into the Swift file. And I just copied the code that was on page 694 in the book. And then this I didn't think was needed, this code right here, but I still put it in. If you look on page 695 in the book, it actually has this code, but it was saying it didn't need it. The first time I did it, I didn't put this in and it didn't work. So I was frustrated. Then I did a whole nother one and I put this in and it still didn't work. And then I found out I made some mistakes and it started working. So, I mean, it says on page 695 that this is not necessary, this part over here, but I put it in anyways. And then that's all I did to make it work, is that. Again, if you play it, you can play the song, you can stop the song, you can play control the volume. Okay, so that's all good and fun, and it's beautiful, but wouldn't it be better if I had some animation going along with it? So, think about it. You want to have, I already covered how to do the animation, so I'm going to take that animation that I've already done, and I'm going to integrate it into this file. So let me show you how I do that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an image. So I'm going to load up an image, and I'm going to put it down below here. And kind of remember how we made the animation? It was kind of ugly. It looks about like this, right? It's about this size, something like that. After I put the image onto the screen, of course, I'm going to give it some constraints so it's happy that it stays in its location. So give it some constraints. Then if you remember how we did the animation last class, oops, I didn't want that. How we did the animation the last class, in the assets window, I brought in different files. Remember that with the animation like this, right? And so it's called speaker 001, speaker 002, speaker 003, speaker 005, whatever. So I already have these in here, so I'm going to actually I'm going to program it. The first thing to program the animation is and I'm sorry, you never have enough space in any of these programs, do we? The first thing you want to do is, of course, make a connection to the animation. To make a connection to the animation, under the class view controller here, I'm going to grab the image viewer and I'm going to make a connection to the programming by clicking and dragging it in. And what did we call it in the animation? Does anybody remember what we called it in the animation last week? No, I don't remember either. How about we just call it my animation? Animation. How about we call it my animation? Again, you make a connection from the graphic to here, and I called it my animation. Next, we want the animation to play, so you have to do what we did last class, which was cycle through all the files, and I'm not going to go. I already done that already, so I'm going to open up the previous one. Here it is. Remember, this is the animation I did last week. So I'm going to copy this is the animation. Let's see if it still works. Does it still work? Let's try it. Does it still work? Okay, there it is. Remember the cheesy animation? There it is. So this is what I did last week. So I'm going to copy this stuff that I did. It's right here. So what do I want to put in? Of course, the first thing I want to put in is this one right here, which is basically making the animation work right here. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put it in this music player, kind of right underneath the load option. Did it load? Did it load? Yes, it loaded. So I'm going to put it here. So again, this and how the animation works is it makes a variable called image names, and let me make sure the connection is right here. Image view. That's the name, not my animation. It's called image view right here. Hold on, I have to fix my other one. Image view. There we go. So again, basically you make a variable called image names, and it puts all the images in there. Then again, it makes another variable for it connection to this right here. Once it connects to this, then it puts a count in there right here. That's what cycles through them. The next line of code that I have made in here is the image view right here. I needed to make them the images. So I copy this line, and I'm going to put it actually underneath here. Actually underneath here. I think this is where I put it. Right there. Okay. So I put this line here, but the problem is I don't want it to animate until the person pushes the button, right? I don't want the animation to happen until the person pushes the button. So in this case, I need to take the part, this is doing the animation right here, where it says image view start animating right here. I need to take this line of code and put it in the, where do I put that? Well, I put it in where the play button is doing the playing the music, which is down here. Down here. Here's where remember the play button was playing the music here. So in this line of code here, between here and here, in this line of code, I'm going to put the animation in there. And you'll see it says image view, which is the name of the box. This name right here is called image view. Start animating. So it'll start animating when the person pushes the button. So again, to get the animation to be triggered on the button, I put the triggering of the animation on a button. And remember we did the duration right before we left last class to slow it down. Do you remember that? That's in there also. So if I test this now, hopefully it works. It's coming. Uh-oh. It's giving me an error. No. What error is it giving me? Let me see if I can find why it's giving me an error. Didn't like this audio player delegate. Why didn't I like that? Let me make sure. That shouldn't cause any problems there. This should be in the right spot. Let me look real quick here. Didn't like that audio delegate. Oh, it's because remember I called it my animation. That was my mistake. Remember that? That was the problem. I should have called it. I can't. You can't just change the name in the code. I have to redo that. That's why. Okay. I find out why I made a mistake. Let me go back. Do you remember when I dragged this into the code? I called it my animation. I needed to call it. What did I need to call? I needed to call it image view. Here, let me do it again. Image view. Drag this from here to here, and it was called image view. Like that. Okay. So that was a mistake I made there. So you can't just go and change the code, I guess. That's what I was cheating. I was going to cheat. Cheating. I was cheating. Let me try again. Come on. Oh, it still doesn't like it because of that. That killed me. It's still doing that. Shit. I can't go back in time, can I? See, it's still making some connection to that. Ugh, it's killing me here. Okay, here let's change this. Just give me 1 second. If I can't fix it, I have another one that's already done. Here, let me delete this. I'm gonna do it again. Come on. Okay, let me try again. Okay, oh, I gotta give it some constraints. And then make the connection. Let me try it one more time. What did I need to call it? Image view? Okay, last time. Okay, so when you hit the play button, the speakers play. And of course, stop button stops. Play. Oh, and notice that the animation keeps going. So how can we stop the animation on the stop button? So again, I have the playing animation here on the button that you click. Right here's the button for the playing. So I can take this line of code right here. After the stop, this is the stop button down here. In the area for the stop button, where it says start animating, do you see where it says start animating? What do you think I could put in there? Stop. Stop animating. Okay, let me try that. Again, start animating is under the player. Stop animating is under the stop. So we play it, music plays, and of course stop, it hides it. I guess we could stop on a frame is what we should do, but it stops it. Again, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So, and then of course the volume slider has its own control action here. So again, all I did was follow the animation example I made last week, and then I integrated that with the music player from chapter 94 in the book. The biggest problem I have, of course, is getting it to fit on the screen properly. You know, I have a bunch of constraints on there, but they never tend to work the way that I want them to work. You probably have the same problem too, right? Maybe you can teach me how to make the constraints easier. I don't know. They never turn out the way that I expect them. Even with the any. I don't know. If you want to see how I did this or want the example is on Angel. If you want to dissect, again on Angel there's music file for completing. This one right here is the complete one. And of course this is the animation, plain animation. And this is a plain I think audio file. This is a plain audio file. This is a plain animation file. So you can combine these two together. Or this one is the complete one here. So if you click on this and download this file here, you can open it up. And of course the biggest problem with that file is it's made with a newer version of Swift. So you would have to go and tell it to target, you know, lower numbers. Target lower numbers. Target lower numbers. Once you target the lower numbers, if you play it, oh, you have to change this to one of the ones that works, iPhone 6 Plus. Once you play it, now, of course, I don't have the stop button working. I just showed you how to fix that. Stop. So again, all the things that I just showed you are in a document I've already made. It's on Angel. You might need to convert it down to older versions to test it. But if you can deconstruct what I've done, you know, try to avoid the mistakes I've made. Again, the main mistake I made building this just now today was, of course, when I dragged. Did you see what I had to do when I first dragged the image viewer here and I gave it a different name? Do you remember that? It still had a connection to that. Even if I tried to change the code, I had to actually delete this and put a new one in there to make a new connection called image view to make it work. So, and then of course, if you want it to look pretty, this I don't think has any constraints on it, does it? Does it have constraints? No, I don't think it does. There we go. Okay, that looks a little better if you add some constraints. Okay.